What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Beyond the Backboard Podcast, episode 65. My name is Omar. Next to me is Earl. Below me is Max. Today, we got a load of topics to talk about. The recap of the in-season tournament so far, the elimination round, some Jimmy Butler trade rumors going around, Wemby, and how the Spurs are looking. Let's get into it, guys. So, fuck. All right? Fuck. I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring this up first because I want to get this out of the way and never speak about it again. I was at the game again last night in New York. The Hawks. I'm going to say this one time because I don't like using this excuse. I always hate this excuse. Oh, it's the fucking refs. I hate this. I hate it. But it was. It really was. I've seen in person. I guess it's harder to see on TV sometimes. But in the game, I saw Miles McBride got tackled 3 times on the floor. Dyson Daniels has his fucking arm over here all the goddamn time in between players' arms, fouling them, and nothing is being called. OG got slapped twice, and they didn't call anything. After they went back, looked at it, saw he's going like this because he's fucking bleeding, they don't call anything. And then the worst thing happened. I saw Jericho Sims walk into the game, and I was like, oh, shit, welcome to the shit show. So that was my experience last night. It was fun. I'm also going to throw a video somewhere in here. I was interviewed by, MSG, I guess, but I don't know if they posted it anywhere. So if anybody knows where I can find that video, and if they posted it, let me know. But I'm going to throw that video here.
The first question I want to ask you real quick, who's your favorite Knicks player right now?
He's the best player in the East right now. He should be an MVP in our league within the next 2 years. Hopefully, he's going to take us in time.
Right, Ace, second question. If you had courtside seats, who would you take and why?
Oh, probably my friend right over there, John.
Nice. John over there recorded too.
Yes, sir.
All right, and last question. What's your favorite Knicks memory?
Oh, man. It actually was last week at the Orlando game when I was here in Orlando. I didn't even know I was coming to this game yesterday. But, man, when everybody was exploding and the Knicks were doing amazing on the floor, the amount of threes were putting up, we were like 70% until the third quarter. It was just an amazing feeling and an amazing experience.
Amazing experience because we have another one tonight with a W. We're going to take on that goal.
And then I'm going to just continue. But, all right, let's just cover the in-season tournament. In-season tournament.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk right now. Anybody else, please?
I'll say it was last night's games were fun games to watch. I feel like, unless you were a fan of Okay, let me start over. Last night's games were fun to watch from a non-fan perspective of those individual teams. I feel like the Knicks, I really thought they had it going. First half, they had a good lead, and then all of a sudden the Hawks kind of start coming back. I hate blowout wins, especially in these in-season tournament games. So when it got closer, it was a lot more fun to watch. I do agree there were a lot of missed foul calls. I was watching that game. I can, as a Hawks part-time supporter, I do admit there were some foul calls that weren't called. I do admit to that. But there were some that were obvious fouls. And I think the Knicks just really let up on their offense. I don't really know what happened or when things kind of got out of control. I mean, you can kind of contest that. You've seen the game live. But
I saw it. I mean, it was crazy. But continue.
I just think it was a fun game to watch. I know we're gonna start with the Knicks game. I think Karl-Anthony Towns was the biggest, not problem, because he had a great game. It's just one of those things where Karl-Anthony Towns kind of showed his old habits of getting into foul trouble, especially in a big game like this. You need Karl on the floor. I mean, with no Karl, you automatically lose your guy who's been aggressive on the glass pretty much the whole game. I don't know if you guys
19
know,
rebounds.
Once he checked out in that fourth quarter, 3 boards for the other team on both ends. Like, it was a huge difference. So I think that was the biggest reason why the Knicks weren't able to close the game, because Cat had to miss a big stretch of that fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was rough to watch.
Yeah. Cat being out was definitely a contributing factor, but if we're going to be honest, I think kind of the signs that this lead was going to be blown and that the Hawks were going to make the comeback were popping up even just as soon as the third quarter started. I mean, I think the number one thing that really let the Hawks back into, I don't want to say let, because the Hawks, obviously, they deserve it. They played a much better second half than we did.
They did. Yeah.
Well, the main thing that I think got them going and got them on that cycle was the fact that Mikal Bridges was matched up against Trae Young, and he could just absolutely not stay in front of Trae Young. Because if you think about it, I'm not sure. Maybe he was on Trae Young in the first half as well. He did, and if he did a very good job. But Trae Young was very quiet in the first half. But like midway to kind of early through the third quarter, he just got going. He hit those 2 threes. He was getting to the basket every time. He was just blowing by Bridges. Like he was not even in the same zip code as Bridges, who is, I understand, supposed to be a good defender, but this season he has not defended like he has in the past. I think it was a huge mistake to try and continue to put Bridges on Trae Young and throw that size in, because I mean Trae Young is so incredibly fast. I mean he gets that one step on you and he's gone, and he's getting a floater or he's throwing a lob. He's so good once he gets past you that you almost want him to just kind of take those step back deep threes instead of just being able to get to the basket and do whatever he wants. So I think that and the decision to not put a smaller guard on him in the third quarter definitely did not help. Obviously the offensive rebounding of the Hawks is phenomenal. I think for a long time they've been a team that prides themselves on getting offensive rebounds, hitting the glass hard. You've got Capella down there, you've got Okongwu. Jalen Johnson really impressed me with how much he was hitting the boards. I forget how many rebounds he ended up with. He almost had as many rebounds as he almost had as many rebounds as Karl Anthony Towns. It was easy there as well.
It was so easy.
Boop. Yeah. I think that offensive rebounding really won them the game, and they didn't know the Knicks to barely get any offensive rebounds on the other end. I mean, it was really just Towns getting boards, and that was it. So that didn't help. Obviously, even as someone on TV, Omar, I could tell that there were a lot of missed fouls going on there, and it was definitely frustrating, but I don't want to put this entire loss on the refs. It certainly didn't help, but considering how thoroughly they outplayed us there in the second half, I don't, maybe, better calls would have amounted to make, 4, 5, 6 points here and there, which is not nothing, but it's also not like we lost this game by a single point and, it could have been decided by one foul call. Like the Hawks definitely came out and asserted themselves in the second half. So I think they are a deserving winner. As much as I don't like it, they are moving on to the next round, and they deserve to be in Vegas right now.
I'll just say too, another thing that y'all faced that we had to deal with too is one of the scariest things in the NBA right now is 6-man DeAndre Hunter. I mean, having him come off the bench,
phenomenal. He had what,
24
points, 25
He had the quietest 20-point game.
He did the same thing to us, bro. It's like when he gets going, bro, it's hard to contain him because he can hit mid range. He can step out to 3. He can guard like 1 through 3 as well. Like he's such a versatile player who is a starting caliber player coming off the bench versus like your second unit guy. So it's a little bit harder to manage, I feel like, at times. So shout out to him too.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal game. I think if he plays like that, he's in conversation for 6th man of the year. Obviously, the whole thing with DeAndre Hunter is and has always been consistency. Can he do this night in, night out, or is he going to have those nights where he's very offensively inconsistent? But certainly, I think we all knew he has this in him, and this was just one of those games where he just had it going. So fair play to him. But if he can do this consistently, I think that would be a huge help to the Hawks. They need someone like that can just be a consistent spark plug off their bench and provide a little bit of scoring relief for Trae Young.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you.
I already gave my thoughts on that before, but I do want to add, I was kind of questioning why Tom Thibodeau wasn't throwing Miles McBride on Trae Young. I was really questioning that after like a couple of plays because while I understood Mikal Bridges is probably the better defender with his lengthy arms, and you want to match size with a smaller size, like I get it, but it obviously wasn't working. It wasn't working. It was like as soon as you see Trae Young hit 2 threes, there should have been something going on. I don't think it should have been either OG either, because frankly, I think he's even slower than Mikal. But Miles McBride, I felt like would have been able to match his speed and to at least stay in front of Trae Young. That was the main point. And I was getting pissed off. Trae Young went, like, dude, not to hate, man, because Dyson Daniels, he locked Jalen Brunson up goddamn all game. I had a feeling it was going to happen because it happened the previous game. And I also knew, like, from before how we talk about Dyson Daniels. We already know that he's a defensive menace. So I already had the feeling going into it that Jalen Brunson wasn't going to have a great game. Like, I assumed he would hit maybe 15 points and that would be it. But I kind of had the impression that the heavy lifting would have probably had to be done by the other guys, especially Cat, which he was for the most part, but he got into a lot of foul trouble, which, again, doesn't help. In any situation where we have to take out Precious Achiuwa and put Jericho Sims in, it's really not great. Like, oh, man, it's like and you should have heard the section. Everybody, as soon as Jericho Sims went in, everybody was like, fuck!
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was so mad.
That's crazy.
games like this too, like you said, I think Trae Young just had too much freedom. In a game where he
Yes.
shot 8 for 22, it felt like he could get to the paint anytime he wanted to. With the layup, Max even mentioned it too. Like even if you help off the layup, okay, I'm gonna throw a lob to Clint Capella. Like it's just easy work
Easy.
like that. So
Yeah, that's what he's there for. That's
I
what
agree.
Capella's there for, is to catch those lobs.
I say it all the time too. Capella is not really great at all.
Mhm.
At this point, I don't even have to say no disrespect. It's just the truth. He's a really great lob catcher. Like he's a good lob catcher. I think his best defensive days are a little bit behind him, and he's a good rebounder. He's a good rebounder. I'll give him that.
He's good
But
enough. Certainly good enough offensive rebounder.
yeah, but yeah, my point is like I think Trae Young had way too much freedom to kind of get to the paint. Once he gets to the paint, I feel like he's a more dangerous player than at the 3 point line because he hasn't been
By
that consistent
far.
this year.
By
Um,
far.
it's just easier that way. So I definitely agree. A switch probably should have happened in the first. Well, yeah, I feel like a switch should have happened because in the first half he wasn't hitting threes, but he was getting to the paint easily too. So
Yeah.
maybe
I
you
mean,
do switch a guard onto him. I'm not sure who, but yeah.
I was really at the beginning of the season. I was a really big fan of putting Deuce McBride in the starting lineup. I was a really big fan of that because I think Deuce McBride can kind of do what Dante DiVincenzo did last year. We talked last year. I know Max was a big fan of Quentin Grimes last year, but I asked him.
He's having a great season, by the way.
He was having a great season. I'm not shitting on
Well, I'm
him.
saying right now, he's having a great season for Dallas.
He is as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna say
No,
nothing.
continue. Just throwing that out there.
But I asked him last year if we were to replace Quentin Grimes with Dante, would he be able to match the defensive rating? And he was. So
A little.
my
A little bit
question,
lower, but
my
it was
my
still the right
question,
move.
my question poses: Can we see the same with Josh Hart and a Deuce McBride switch?
I think you could. I think the Knicks, with how much they're struggling with rebounding right now, need Josh Hart out there to hit the glass because it really is just Towns, it feels like. And then Josh is really the only other guy who goes and gets rebounds because Anunoby will sometimes get rebounds, Bridges will sometimes get rebounds, but that's not really their forte. They prefer to hang out on the perimeter, leak out, try and play passing lanes. They don't really go and bang down low like a Josh Hart does. So I think that's a big reason of why Hart does need to be in the starting lineup for right now. Obviously,
Yeah.
when the Knicks get Mitchell Robinson back, that all changes, and then you do have two legit rebounding presences. But then you're talking about bringing a Mikal Bridges off the bench, and with how he's been playing, honestly, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask maybe
Most
maybe
expensive
Mikal
six man in
Bridges
the NBA.
because I think Josh Hart is
What was
technically
that?
the power forward.
I said one of the most expensive six mans in the NBA.
That would be the most expensive six man, not contract wise, but trade value
Yeah,
wise.
but value wise, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's absolutely insane. I look back at that trade and I'm like, well, okay, we made one good trade for Cat, but we made one really bad trade for Mikal. But we knew.
Trade when it happened.
Look, we already knew
Omar
that.
was saying it was a steal. Oh, I would have threw 6 more picks at him.
Bro, stop it.
Nah, that week you were so
now
happy,
you
bro.
cap it.
But I'll say this about I feel like Bridges, the reason why he went so much, I think the market was just so stagnant at the time, and the Knicks wanted to make a move right then. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad move. I think everything kind of fits now, but looking back, I think that's just what the market was like for who was available. And
I
they
don't
just
think
paid
the Nets
premium.
wanted to let him go yet. I really think like that's what kind of pushed the train in motion for the Nets to like go into full rebuild.
But they had to though, bro. They had no assets. Like they had to get whatever they could. I don't think they really cared at all about where we're sitting you. Whoever has the best package, that's where you're going.
Yeah, I mean the Knicks did at the time, but goddamn, I'm looking back at it. I'm like, I was kind of right. I would do it for like 4, but I wouldn't do it for 7. Like,
It was 7 picks.
Yeah, we sent 7.
It was
over.
4 firsts.
It was
Okay,
4
okay.
firsts and 3 unprotected.
Yeah,
Was
3
it?
of the 4. There wasn't 7.
Oh, okay, I was about to say what?
Wait, maybe I have the wrong info. Hold on.
Okay. Well, as Omar looks that up, why don't we move on to the other game
Ooh,
last night that was
yes.
also plagued by some referee controversy. Apparently, it took the refs for the Rockets to beat Golden State for the first time in, I want to say, 15 games. It was like a 15, 16 game streak that the Rockets had lost to Golden State, but they finally got their revenge on the biggest stage of all, the NBA Cup, the world's most important platform for basketball.
It was Bogdan, Shake Milton, Mamadi Diakite, 1 unprotected, 2 unprotected, 3 unprotected, 4 unprotected, 5 unprotected, pick swap, and then a second round pick. So 6 picks in total, but it was 5 first round picks.
Well, but one is a swap, so you don't actually lose a pick there. You just get the worst of the 2.
Yeah.
So you're only forfeiting 5 total picks and 1 second rounder. You're only losing 4 firsts in that. But,
yeah.
I
would say this about that game. I watched the whole game, bro. That was one of the best games I watched. Like,
even with the court?
Yeah, I mean the court. I mean, I just expect the courts to be like whatever. It honestly felt. I don't know. Once the game start getting going, I didn't really feel affected by the court. I think the game was.
Yeah, you get used to it.
It was really. I'll say this: the Warriors definitely had a chance. Like, I understand you don't want to make that call at the end of the game, but I can't act like the Warriors didn't blow a lead. Like, they had a really decent lead. They start slacking a little bit on the defensive end, and the Rockets kind of took advantage of that. And you never want to put your team in a position to leave a game up to the refs because we know how bad the referees are this year. Like, you never want to put yourself in that position. So while I do feel like that call probably shouldn't have been made, either way, I think the Rockets would have had a really good chance of tying it or winning it. It would have still been their ball. They would have just probably ran something out the timeout, got something to. At the time, I'd probably say Fred VanVleet because he had a tough 3. To kind of bring the game even closer. And then Jabari hit some shots as well. I think it's just a good game. And if I'm being honest, I know I said honest a lot in that sentence, which is funny. I really want to see OKC Rockets. Because last time we got that matchup a week ago, it was one of the best games I watched so far this season. So I think if you're Adam Silver, he was probably like smile. Adam Silver was probably crying in his bed on the way that game ended, bro. It really felt like I don't want to say like a.
I feel
finals,
like he saw this round, and
it was a good.
Crying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was a good. Like, that was a great game. Like, I know the call was whatever. Like, I think the game was just really fun to watch. So I enjoyed it. I watched the whole thing.
It was a fun game. I mean, as much as I tried to watch it, right? I got home at like 10:30 something. I'm not sure what the game started at what time, but I saw.
Maybe 10.
I think I didn't see it as soon as I got home. I think I turned it on at like 11:30 or something, and I saw it like the third or fourth quarter. But it was a really tough game, man. And to say that again, bro, I mean, I looked at the entire thing, and I'm like, yeah, somebody's rolling in their grave right now. Just the way that these fouls are being called, the way that these fouls are not being called. There's too much up and down with the NBA.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and it depends on officials.
Yeah.
We can't have that. Like, we can't have inconsistencies within games. It is rough and it sucks. And the fact that the NBA is not holding referees accountable is the reason why this keeps happening.
Yeah.
So the only way that this problem is going to be solved, unfortunately, is if the NBA starts holding refs accountable. Maybe it's private accountability. I have no idea. And you don't want to put it out there. But god damn it. It doesn't seem like y'all doing anything. It doesn't.
I'm pretty sure that they do keep track of these things throughout the season, which is why you see like the quote unquote best refs call the playoff games. Like if you do have a number of instances throughout.
Scott Foster.
Some guys have a premium pass, you know.
That man got the fucking finals job for Chris Paul, and they didn't win a fucking game. They won. I'm sorry, they won 2 games. I'm sorry.
Sometimes, listen, I do think there is a system of private accountability, or at least they say there is. But I mean, how that's tracked, whether that certainly it's not public information, so we don't know how that's tracked. I'd like to think that they are consistent and that they do try and go back and say, okay, you made the wrong call here, you made the wrong call here. This is why you're going to get this assignment and not that assignment. I'd like to think that they do that, but unless they were to make that public, there really is no way to know. I mean, the only public accountability that they really do is the 2-minute report, which I mean is nice sometimes. But I feel like more often than not, that just winds up kind of being a slap in the face of whatever team lost when they say like, "Oh, yeah, that actually wasn't a foul." So and you're like, "Oh, great, thanks." You know.
Okay.
Like,
so the point I was trying
right
to
now.
the point I was trying to make before, because I realized I was kind of a lot of mumbo jumbo, I didn't really explain. But what happened with Chris Paul and Scott Foster, it goes back to all the way to back he was in LAC, something with his kid, yada, yada, yada. I don't know the full story, so I'm not going to go into it. But his whole career after that, every time it was officiated by Scott Foster before they went into the finals, I remember the stat. It was 0-16 when Scott Foster was coaching. Was refereeing the game where Chris Paul was on one team. 0-16.
Skill issue.
And they put that man in the finals.
Honestly, though,
the first time Chris Paul got to the finals.
I'll say this: I'm not gonna blame all the Chris Paul stuff on Scott Foster. I mean, he's had plenty of opportunities to win. He's had moments where he had mental lapses on the court, especially in Houston and on the Clippers too. So I get the Scott Foster narrative. It is kind of funny to talk about. It was a crazy record. I can't lie to you. 0-16 at the time.
0-16. Y'all can fact check me.
I'll say this: talking about last game though, I don't even think like Steve Kerr when that press conference really mad. But Steve Kerr, when y'all got that rebound, you should have just called a timeout. If I'm being completely honest, like when you got the board, instead of forcing that pass, you should just call a timeout. And yeah, they had a timeout. So I get he was mad. He's talking about, well, yeah, I wanted to go to Vegas, so I really don't want to talk about this right now. The referees, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro, like these are moments where, okay, you have to do your job. Like we talk about coaching a lot on the show. Shout out to Beyond the Backboard, where we hold all of our players and coaches accountable.
Doc Rivers.
That's coaching. That's coaching. You have to call a timeout. With the game online like that, you call the timeout, you reset it. There's no penalty in calling timeout right there when you're up and you have the ball. So I didn't understand why he got all frustrated. I get you don't want to call a foul right there, but it was a little bit of contact. It could have easily been a jump ball as well. But I seen he was a little bit salty in these press conferences. Not to get on Steve Kerr too much, but you had the opportunity. You guys also blew a big lead in a game where Jalen Green was playing absolutely awful. You let the Rockets come back and still win this game. So don't really feel bad for the Warriors. I'm not a hater either. It's just, it is what it is.
The Rockets just straight up outplayed them, I feel like.
Yeah, towards the end, they did.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Alperen Sengun. I think, shout out to Paul who brought this up, but I didn't even know that Shaq made the comparison, the Turkish Tim Duncan. Perfect.
Not gonna lie.
Perfect.
Curry also didn't. What?
No, go ahead.
Curry also did not have the greatest game.
What are you
Curry
doing?
also did not have the greatest game, which if you're Golden State, I mean, Kuminga still stepped up. Kuminga, I think, at 20. That's a solid performance from him. But in a game where Steph does not have 20 plus, are they really? I mean, I don't know. I hate to say, are they good enough to win with that? Because they have won this season.
No, that's the right thing to say.
Proven to be success, but you would like for Steph to have a slightly more offensively productive game, and I think that right there could have made the difference. So I'm sure Steph will put that on his shoulders to say, if I have 25 instead of like 19, we win this game.
Yeah, and he only took 17 shots. In a game where he's shooting like 8 for 17, I mean, I would like to see him put up at least more than Kuminga. I mean, Kuminga got 20 up. There was a stretch in the first quarter.
Steph's getting 22.
Exactly. Like, there was a stretch in the first quarter. I'm like, why does Steph shoot the ball? Like, sometimes you're Steph Curry. Like, even the threes he made last night, some of them were like difficult shots. So it's not like he can't create his own shot and just put something up. I just feel like he wasn't aggressive enough. And then on the other end, Jalen Green. Shout out to Amani Doka, though. He benched Jalen Green in the prime time of the game because he was playing awful. Benched him for like 3 minutes straight and then checked him in, and Jalen Green got like a huge rebound to kind of help the team win. So I like his coaching style. I can't say. I like him keeping his guys accountable on the court.
Yeah, that is kind of an Ime Udoka decision, and honestly, that is a decision I think a lot of coaches in the league don't want to make. Oftentimes,
they
because
don't want to make
it is bad visual to bench your $90 million man, or when a player's making X amount of money. It's a bad look to have him on the bench at the end of close games. But I do respect a coach who's willing to say, it just looking at the fact Jalen Green has not had a good game. Therefore, there are guys on the bench who deserve to be playing over him right now. Therefore, we're going to sit him down. Whether he's making $5 million or $90 million, your performance on the court is what matters here. Ultimately, it's a meritocracy, but that can be hard. That's a bad look. If the Rockets were to go on and lose that game, you best believe every single question in the post-game comments, and probably for the next week, is why didn't you play Jalen Green? Why did you bench Jalen Green? Why is Jalen Green not out there? So it's kind of it's a high risk for the coach because that blame's going to fall on his shoulders if it doesn't work out. But in this case,
feel like Ime Udoka
equal amounts of applause as we would have clowned him for if they had lost that game.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. If Ime was ever faced with that question, he would just be like, because he wasn't playing well? Did y'all not see the score sheet? I mean, that's just the person that Ime Udoka is. He's going to take accountability for it because, again, that's who he is. But he's also going to say, look at the numbers. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't feel like he would go for it yet.
No, I'm saying I agree with you. And then it builds better habits for these players.
Yes.
Another example reminds me of LaMelo Ball. Charles Lee, I don't know if you guys remember, like a couple of weeks ago, LaMelo was just playing awful turnovers, taking bad shots. He took them out to end the game. Even if the Hornets had a chance to go and win that game, he did not bring them back. And then LaMelo was talking about it. He said after the game, him and coach had conversations. They worked on it. They talked about things they have to get done. And he basically, I feel like it builds more respect between player and coach. Like, hey, I know who you should be on the floor. You know what you should be doing to contribute to this team. If you're not living up to that standard, then you don't need to be on the court. And I respect that. Like, it takes a lot for a coach to kind of un-ego some of these players. Like, hey, just because you're making the most money on this team doesn't mean you can make decisions like that on the court to put this team in a bad position to lose games. So I respect it.
Yeah, I respect that. And it's also like a two-way street as well. Because if the player is not willing to listen to the coach, then don't waste your breath.
Yep.
It takes two parties to make that work. You have to have a player who is willing to be egoed and willing to be kind of checked in that way. Some players will respond well to that and they'll understand the method behind it and come back better and use that as a learning moment. And there are some players whose egos are too big to see that, and they're just going to say, man, my coach benched me. Like, how could he do this? Like, now I got to bend that against him. Like, I'm going to take it personally. Yeah. There are some players who just feel that way. And there are some coaches who either A, will not ego check their players when they should, or B, don't do it in the right way to where they, sometimes an ego check can spark animosity because the coach doesn't go about it the right way. So I think it seems like something that Ime Udoka did well. Like you said, Jalen Green, he put that faith in Jalen Green to come back in, and Jalen Green made a big hustle rebound play. So I think in this scenario worked out, which is how you would want it to work out all the time. But sometimes it just doesn't go that way because egos are a part of sports ultimately. And sometimes the best players are the ones who are able to put their egos to the side and just kind of look at the business or the meritocracy side of it.
I also feel like the Rockets are a little too young to have that type of ego. So I also feel like they also haven't been in a position to win like that. So,
but sometimes it is the young players that have the ego, right? Sometimes it is the younger guys who don't really, who don't understand that concept. Yeah, sometimes it is the older guys who are able to, haven't been there.
All I'm saying is I've never got that type of vibe from that team to where they'd be like, we're dicks. We're not going to listen to our coach because, in some regards,
I feel like
not this year necessarily, but you could tell last year there is some players that are just straight up ignoring their coaches, like Steve Nash, Kyrie Irving with Brooklyn, and then and Kevin Durant as well with the previous coaches in the front office.
I forgot Steve Nash coached Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
Remember that guy? Yeah, remember that guy, David Blatt?
Oh yeah, he won a championship. Did he win a championship with the Cavs or no? That was Tyronn Lue, right? He replaced David Blatt.
Yeah, that was Tyronn Lue because Tyronn Lue replaced him. Yes.
Yeah, I think Tyronn replaced him and they won a title. Did y'all see that thing the other day where it's like Tyronn Lue was apparently lowball? It was sent a lowball offer by the Lakers in the offseason, and then Ron called him up and said, "What can I do? What can I do to get you here?" And Tyronn was like, "I appreciate it, but if they're not going to make me there go the lights. If they're not going to make me a good offer, then I don't want to be there. There's nothing you can do about it, Ron."
And that, once again, I know we're kind of all over the place, but this is ball. That tells you what the big problem has always been. It's the front office. It's Jeannie Buss and it's Rob Pelinka not making great decisions, respectfully.
Rob Pelinka needs to go.
But we ball.
Just going to say that. Just for y'all's sakes, Rob Pelinka needs to go.
I mean, Bob Myers is sitting right there on TV, bored out of his mind.
For real.
Just saying.
He's like, yo, I could help you.
I'm only an analyst so I can get a new job again. I swear, bro, if Bob Myers was RGM right before the 15th, that whole team would be shaken up. And people, I'm not even saying like, oh, I just want us to trade everything away, but it's just like make moves that make sense. Like you see, we don't have a big right now, a good rotational big. You can't find me one, Rob Pelinka. I mean,
It's right there.
it's the CBA, the CBA. I mean, everybody has a CBA, Rob Pelinka. Like it's not just exclusive to you, brother. Respectfully, but yeah, not gonna yap about the Lakers, but I agree. Coaching is definitely huge in big games like that. And shout out to Amon, kind of really changing the Rockets' culture. They're playing good basketball. They're
100%.
top
That team's
three in the
culture
West.
could not be more night and day.
And it
I mean,
almost is
they're
like it happened
really good.
overnight. It's almost like it happened in overnight because
Yeah.
you saw Tom Thibodeau take over that Knicks team like years ago. And you didn't really see that defensive identity till 3 years later. So
Yeah,
it's really good
I
that
feel like he came in and he won Coach of the Year like his first year as a head coach.
huh?
Yeah,
I'm
he
pretty
won
sure that
Coach
was
of the
like
Year.
3 years in, no?
welcome
No,
to
he won
our
Coach of the
fact
Year.
check live in the show by
You can
Omar.
fact check. I'm pretty sure he won Coach of the Year in 21 when he led the Knicks to the 4th seed with Alfred Payton and Nerlens Noel playing big minutes. But yeah, you can fact check me there. While we're on the topic of Lakers and coaching, do we want to talk about the play-in whisperer, aka Mr. Darvin Ham, who is, I believe, undefeated in the NBA play-in, the only coach, player, executive, what have you, who has never lost a
That
play-in game.
merch
Now has
check.
the Bucks. Well, partially him, mostly Doc Rivers and co. But he's got the Bucks now in a position where they're going to Vegas, and I think they have a very good shot at going to the final game now that they beat Orlando.
I mean, it's a crazy narrative because
I don't think it's
I
a
get it.
coincidence. I think it has. It's got to be. There's got to be a reason. He's just good at
There's no-
hyping up these
it's-
big moments.
it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, that's just like saying, oh, nah, I don't want to disrespect anybody's job. That's gonna sound crazy. I was gonna say, like, oh, the guy who mops the floors, you know what? They won the championship this year. It's really because the radius of the way he cleans the floors at home games. That's the only reason that they're
Hey,
winning those
takes
games.
everyone.
But it could be true. That's why I said I want to disrespect it. But it's just
Okay.
like
Yeah,
little
you're right.
things. It's just like Darvin Ham. He's just. I don't want to say his name. He's.
I mean, for how much we've
Undefeated in the
clowned
play-in.
for how much we've clowned both Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers on this
Zero
show, sometimes rightfully
championships.
so. The Bucks look pretty darn good right now. Like, I don't think they're a team that could be.
Oh,
slept
but
on.
wait. I'm gonna double take on my hot take from a couple weeks ago when I said the Bucks were just warming up. No need to worry about the Bucks. They're gonna figure things out, and I was completely right. Shout out to the Bucks. I'm gonna take my
Okay.
credit like we all have on this show. That's what we do here.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
what we
sure I
do
also
here.
said that they would go 4-0 and win their group.
Yep. And Max did double down with me. So shout out to Max.
I'll double down on the hall.
Omar said they were trash and they weren't doing anything this year. But the Bucks are
Man,
back to
we're allowed
prime
make
time.
mistakes.
Dame's good. Chris Middleton's kind of locked in. He's not quite Chris Middleton yet, but having him back definitely helps the Bucks. Bobby Portis is playing good basketball.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks they're just figuring it out. And it takes time. I think people don't understand that. Like Dame and Giannis, they just became teammates. They're still figuring out how to play off each other. And when they do both have good games, they win. So I think things are kind of lining up good for them.
The end of that game, the Bucks Magic game, that was some phenomenal basketball. And if you told me that in the year 2024 we would be getting Damian Lillard versus Jalen Suggs one-on-one shoot-off to end a game, I would have told you you're crazy. But Jalen Suggs carried that Magic team offensively in the fourth quarter and defensively. I know I'm pretty sure he left the game earlier with like some sort of minor injury. Well, they weren't sure if he was going to come back. He came back and was by far the best player on, at least for the Magic, on the court there in the last 6-7 minutes. He was going shot for shot with Damian Lillard, which is not something that is easy for anyone to do, let alone a guy who we always thought was, we kind of labeled Jalen Suggs as offensively limited. He's a defensive specialist, which he's still phenomenal defensively. He showed that. But I did not know he had this kind of offensive bag, but he showed it. He showed it in prime time. He almost got that team the win.
Bro, people forget.
I was really surprised because I went to that Orlando game when it was the Knicks versus Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him miss like 4 threes, and I was like, well, that's never happened.
Yeah, Suggs did have a very poor game. I think it was like 2 for 9 from 3 or something. He really struggled from 3.
Yeah, he
that
really
more
struggled.
Like the Suggs that we would, I hate to say expect, but have seen in the past. But my goodness, did he step it up.
Mm-hmm.
And
he did.
I mean, he almost got them that win. I mean, that Magic team, they're going to be really good. when Paolo and Franz come back. If they're able to go toe-to-toe with Milwaukee, who I think we can all agree right now is not a bad team. They are one of the better teams in the East. They can go toe-to-toe with them without their two best players. I mean, they're going to be scary when Paolo and Franz come back. I think Paolo's obviously coming back a little. I think he should be back around Christmas, they said. Like that's kind of the target. And then Franz is obviously going to be later that because he just got injured. I don't know what it is with Magic players and oblique injuries. That's the worst luck there. But they're going to be really good later in the year. I don't care where they finish in terms of seeding. If they have those two guys healthy for the playoffs, I don't think any team wants to play them.
I think for people who don't – I'm back going. That was crazy. I think for people who don't understand, like the Jalen Suggs takeover, Gonzaga. I'll put it to one word, Gonzaga. Like Jalen Suggs in college, he had moments like these where he was very, very special. And I think when the time comes where he has to be that main guy, not saying it's going to be very often, he can flip that type of switch. Like he went into that game knowing, hey, I have to put up at least 30 for us to win this game. And credit to the Magic, though. I'm going to give Magic a lot of credit. No Franz, no Paolo, and they were able to hold the Bucks right there. That was almost one of those meme games where you see Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers all over Twitter for losing to Magic with most of the role players hurt. Or I should not even role star players. My bad.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic.
Yeah. He was dealing with like an ankle injury for most of that game.
I will say, if Paolo and Franz were not injured, they probably would have won that game. No, not even probably, they would have won. Respectfully,
I think
just the way the Bucks were playing.
We'd be looking at a very different Magic team. That
for sure. People say, bro, Mosley. I think one of the more underrated coaches in the league. Again, we talk about how Ime Udoka has the Rockets playing defense. The Orlando Magic play defense, and they don't they don't have like the greatest defensive pieces. Like you have Jalen Suggs, obviously he is a defensive demon. I'll give you that. But you look at the rest of the lineup. Franz not known for his defense. Paolo not known for his defense. Goga not really known for his defense. Wendell Carter up and down kind of guy. KCP is a fine defender, but like not. I don't know if I would at this point in his career consider him a lockdown. But they play really good team defense and they play tough. That Magic team, since Jamal Mosley has taken over, has slowly become more and more scrappy. I think that's a better example of a team where you say like that the culture didn't necessarily change overnight, but it's been more of a steady thing. Because Jamal Mosley's been their coach for, I want to say, a couple of years. It's been like 3-4 years he's been Magic head coach. Someone can check me on that, but he's just kind of slowly built this team from like, I hate to say it, but like a laughingstock rebuild team a couple of years ago, and they shipped off Vucevic, they shipped off Aaron Gordon, they just kind of hit the complete reset button. They've drafted very well. They've given young players opportunities. And I think they're in a really good spot right now. I think they could easily get a top 4 seed in the East by the end of the year. They could host the whole playoff series. That would be incredible for that team.
The Magic have been like one of the best in finding like talent like around this league. Like
for sure. I mean, all these guys are drafted. I mean, obviously they got lucky with the number 1 pick and got to take Paolo, but was he unanimous number 1 pick that year? Was there?
Yeah.
Nah, he was that guy.
He was the only guy. I gotta look up that draft class again, but I'm pretty sure he was like one of the only.
He was the unanimous pick. Okay, so fair enough. They kind of got lucky there to get the first.
Because they were calling him like the greatest prospect since LeBron James prior to Wembanyama the previous year.
If I was said this,
no, they were not hyping him up more than Zion. Zion was the greatest prospect.
I promise you, yes, they were.
I remember
it all the time.
I don't think.
This is because remember, this is the this was the Chet Paolo conversation. This was Chet and Paolo.
Okay, yeah. So they did have to make a decision.
It was definitely like Paolo was favored a little bit more just because of his build. His body was like a little bit more NBA ready. And I'll say this about Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, now that I think about that, wasn't there a big controversy in that draft whether to go Chet, Paolo, or Jabari Smith Jr.? I think those three. I think any of those three could have gone first. From what I remember, I think there was conversations that Orlando could take any of them. Yeah. So honestly, I don't think Paolo was that clear of a favorite. I think it was more of a surprise on draft night when they took him first. People were expecting either Chet or Jabari.
Yeah,
so they did. I'm pretty. Fact check me on this. Someone pull up.
I mean, no, you're probably right, but I always had the feeling that they were going to take him.
Yeah. No. I would just say this. Like Paolo, I was looking at his stats overall. Like the dude, he is giving me. I want to say it. He's really giving me upside. Like coming to league dominating. He's giving me like Bron vibes, bro. Like
that's
I'm looking at his numbers. Rookie year, 20 points.
Yeah. Talk your talk. Yeah.
3.7 assists, 6.7 rebounds.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, 22, 7 rebounds, and then he had
they were calling Paolo
5.4 And then this year, he has 29, 8.8, and 5.6. So every year he's got better in every single stat category. And now he's shooting 34% from three. Every year he's got better from three as well. So
few players have come into the league and been as good early on as Paolo has. Like he made an All-Star team his second year, third year. That's not usual. It typically takes players longer than that. So fair play. But I mean, that's why our whole point to this was to say like Orlando. It's like what you said, Omar. Like they discovered, like they have nurtured Paolo's talent. They discovered Franz Wagner. You know, they took I don't want to say risk, but they took Jalen Suggs. I want to say like top 7 or 8. Like they drafted him highly. They put they put faith in him. That's been reciprocated. They have Anthony Black, who obviously didn't have a great year.
That's why I say they're one of the better
Anthony Black's had a solid enough season. So
that's why I say they're one of the better organizations. Because you don't hear no drama about the Orlando Magic front office. You don't hear no drama.
Yeah.
All right now. Not really.
I haven't heard any drama since like the Shaq days, maybe.
Well, I mean, I think there was drama when they blew up their whole team a couple of years ago and sent to Chicago.
I mean,
Aaron Gordon didn't even won a title.
Because at that point, the team was looked at as a kind of a team, like a development team. Like you go there to develop your game, and then you go and you get traded for better assets that you were attained for. So I think the Magic for like 5 years were in the mode where they were developing players and then selling.
Yeah.
Selling high. They sold Nikola Vucevic high, whereas he's like at least half the value that they traded him for now. And the same thing for Aaron Gordon. He was at the top of his value when the Magic traded him.
I don't know.
Cut in half as soon as he went to Denver, it cut in half. Because he was one of the main guys in Orlando.
I think Aaron Gordon's value went up when he went. I mean, he won a championship in Denver. Like I think.
It doesn't necessarily mean that your value is going to be stronger.
It just means that they kind of sold low on Gordon. Like he wasn't really that great in Orlando anymore. Like they kind of had run his course.
It's just the way that Aaron Gordon plays. I think the reason why he's a more valuable player now is because he's shown what he can do as a starting championship level player, like as a power forward. Next to like he can rebound, he can defend, he's worked on it. He's shooting. Let me not lie.
Yeah, we can look at it, but like I feel like with Orlando, he kind of like he had run his course a little bit. And it was like, okay, where is like a good fit for this guy? Like, what is he? Like, people didn't really know what he was. Like, is he a number 2 option? Is he a number 3 option?
He is shooting 47% from 3 this year, which is actually kind of insane because I didn't really, because I heard somebody talking about it a couple weeks ago. With 3 attempts a game, he's shooting 47% from 3. So he's playing like this is a career high. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, no, bro, he's some of the guy who used to shoot 27%, 29%, 28%, 30%, all in the Magic days. Those were his percentages. He never shot anything above. We had a season where he was shooting 35% from 3. That was his best. Other than that, below average. Went to the Nuggets. 35.
I think Aaron Gordon is the best role player in the league. If we're being honest, I think he is the best, the quintessential. Him and Derek White are like the best role players.
So Omar was right. Is what I'm hearing. Omar was right. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. No, you said that his value was higher in Orlando. He's playing better now than he ever did in Orlando, or at least he's playing his role better.
You said that when he was in Orlando, he was shooting over 40%.
No, I said he was shooting below. Right, he's shooting 40% now.
I see. Okay, I got a little confused. Maybe Omar was right. We'll see. But
I will say we should transition over to talk about another star type player around the league.
Yeah,
has been getting a lot of interest. Jimmy Butler. Well, there's been a lot of controversy actually now since we're updated about Jimmy Butler and his trade request by his agent. But apparently it was reported that Jimmy Butler and his camp are willing to get traded to certain teams. Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, I think the Suns, which we found out is probably not true at all.
I actually, Shams went on ESPN today and stood on his reporting.
Did he?
So
that's all crazy to me. The fact.
So who's lying though? Like who's lying? Is the source of the is the agent lying or is Shams lying? Because if the agent,
I think the agent is lying to protect his ass because I don't see agents ever coming out tweeting the Shams.
Well, maybe because he was like, hey, this is just not real.
Okay. So how about all the times that Shams was accused of saying the wrong shit before, and then he would either delete it or not comment on it ever again?
Just saying the fact that Shams is standing on business now, you think that means it's real.
Because somebody like Shams, you don't stand on business until you're absolutely 1,000% sure that you're 100% right.
But Shams is known for not getting information right and not having it right, like that.
But he's also not known for
that. Hey, that's why Woj is my GOAT. Y'all know this. You already know what my name is on Sleeper. Woj has always been S tier. You know why? Because Woj will sit back. He doesn't care. You can report this and that. Woj will sit back and wait for the 100% confirmed information. He'll have the article already linked, written, everything laid out when he drops news. Because he knows it's 100% legit. There's no funny business. There's no misspellings because he's double, triple checking all his work. He does his due diligence to make sure the information he puts out to the people is not propaganda. Respect to Shams, though.
I just think it speaks volumes that he's standing on the reporting. He went on live TV and
you have a point. You do have a point, but it's clear that at this point one side is not. I mean, I don't know. Is the truth somewhere in the middle?
Because here's the thing. Because my thing is, he would either, like, if he got something wrong, he would either delete the tweet or then never address it again. So then why is it all of a sudden that he's hopping back on ESPN, addressing it, saying that I'm standing on my reporting?
Look, I'll read what he said. This is what the agent said. All right, listen. I gave you a pass yesterday because I was busy. But if you don't stop putting my name on your complete and utter made up fill in the blank, because normally aren't worth time to... He spelled that weird. You aren't worth my time to knowledge. And then it says continue. I don't know what I'm going to do
he's in his feelings,
because I'm in a middle-aged dad, but I just know it would indicate severe dislike. All this is fabricated. I have never, and honestly, it wouldn't help me in the position I represent to do anything that's been reported by said journalist.
I think, I think the thing is that he put his name right next to it, because I think, or something, he put his name per like, what was it, Bernie?
Yeah, I mean, when he reported, he said it was per.
Yeah, he was putting his name.
What the agent's name
is,
but
so then maybe
all his agent is saying,
and maybe Shams had insider information, but maybe it didn't directly come from him. That's what I'm saying. Like, and if you put your name on something that you didn't directly tell somebody, maybe that's why he was getting a little bit frustrated. I don't know. Just speculating. Like, maybe hear back, because I'm not saying, obviously Shams has sources. If he didn't have sources, he wouldn't be in the position he is in today. So maybe he heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who shouldn't have told somebody. It got leaked, and he's like, I didn't tell you. Yeah.
It sounds like, from this, that conversation between Shams and Jimmy's agent never happened. If Shams, I'm not saying that Shams didn't hear this information, but it was probably like someone told Shams, "Oh, Jimmy's agent's saying this." There was probably a middleman there, and that's where the confusion happened. Because if it was a direct conversation, I don't see how any of this goes down. There's got to be one middleman, maybe two, where it's like Shams is kind of the fourth link in the telephone. Y'all ever play that game Telephone, where it's like,
Because I've also heard that while Jimmy is open to those four specific teams, he was also
trade there.
Yeah, he was also saying that he would also be willing to go to any winning situation.
Right.
And it's like, even with that contract though, and the aprons, let alone, like, he can't go to the Warriors because of the apron, I'm pretty sure. I don't even think he can go to the Mavericks because of their apron situation. Maybe the Rockets.
Why would the Mavericks want him though? Like,
and why would they
over there?
Exactly. Like, even the teams he listed, like, realistically, there's probably no way.
The Phoenix Suns are not trading for him.
Oh yeah, Suns.
The Phoenix Suns are not trading for Jimmy Butler.
They can't afford it. The only way you get that is you got to put in Bill, which obviously I would do. I mean, Bill is. But
but you can't do anything if Bill says no.
No, I get it, because he has that thing, that clause.
That's actually true. What I'm saying. Bill want to go to Miami.
It would have to.
Hey, you want to go to Miami and stay with Bam Adebayo?
Devin Booker. It's just.
Probably
it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand why this report came out in the first place. And the teams he listed are really unrealistic, except for the Rockets. That's probably the most realistic option if he was to get traded. just because they have the assets, and I'm pretty sure contract-wise they can probably match a couple of salaries. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe
what the books are
Orlando.
like.
Maybe Orlando will take him.
Why would it's like
They don't need that.
I know.
Orlando or the Rockets do that? Like most teams just straight up can't match the salary with any like salary filler players.
Yeah.
And even if they could, because not only do you have to trade players to get Jimmy, you also have to re-sign him. Because remember, he's on an expiring deal. So you got to trade and then sign him to probably what 35, 40 mil he's going to want. Because if you don't give it to him, someone will. Brooklyn will give him 40. Charlotte will give him
Brooklyn's
40.
also not a winning
They
situation.
don't have anyone else to give that money to. So like you're committing yourself to like 3 more years of Jimmy Butler, which what team is doing that right now?
That is true.
Like the only team I could see him making sense for is the Warriors. If they wanted to cash in their young assets and try and extend the Steph Curry window and give him a legit proven playoff running mate. But can they even do that? Because are the Warriors second apron? I don't know. Are they second apron? I don't think they are.
Let me ask you this.
I think they are, or they're really close to it. So I'm not sure.
Let me ask you guys this.
No, they are, because remember they couldn't make any crazy moves. I'm pretty sure that was the big talk about the Warriors.
Was that it? Is that why they couldn't re-sign Clay or something?
I don't know. Someone has a fact. I get a little confused when it comes to aprons.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at a trade machine currently, and I'm looking at the teams between Miami Heat and Orlando, and all I'm gonna say is it could work.
But like, why?
Well, why would they need?
Would you have to give up? Like, why would Orlando?
So a combination of Jonathan Isaac and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope pretty much gets that done.
Are the Heat accepting that though?
I mean,
probably
not. You probably have to. That's where the picks come in. That's why it's probably going to have to be a pick heavy deal. But that's probably what it would look like because, listen, the Miami Heat are in a situation where they have a really expensive player on an expiring deal that doesn't play well. He doesn't play much. He doesn't do much. You're not going to get much.
So fair. But with that said, how could Orlando justify cashing in first round picks to go get Jimmy and then re-sign him? Like I feel like Orlando has built themselves.
Why not? First of all, Jonathan Isaac has been on a sliding slope down for a little while.
It's not necessarily the players. It's more so like he just doesn't really fit their timeline. Like the Magic are a young
I understand
team.
that. I
Do you really need to go and get? But like, does that make them a championship contender?
We're not talking about if they need it. We're talking about if they can do it.
I mean, they can. It's clear. There's a lot of teams that can do it, but I don't think they would.
But I think they would. I mean, look, Jonathan Isaac is coming off the bench. I
don't think
Orlando.
I don't think Paolo and Jimmy Butler make sense together.
Why not?
I just don't think it fits. Jimmy Butler can't shoot. Paolo needs the ball in his hands.
The worst 3-point
they kind of both work.
You're going to add Jimmy Butler to that and take away. They brought in Pope to shoot threes. He's the only like real 3-point shooter on their team.
And they both need the ball in their
hand.
hand.
To get another guy who can't shoot.
Yeah, and they both need the ball in their hand, so it just doesn't make sense to me, low key.
I just don't think there really are many teams that Jimmy Butler makes sense for, and the few that he does probably can't trade for him. Like he needs to go to a team that already has.
All I'm saying is one of these teams that you guys think won't make that deal will probably make that deal. And maybe and you got to understand if we're in a winning situation that like Jimmy wants to be part of a winning situation, and that's completely understandable. He's on the back end of his prime. But where can you go? Where can you go? We talk about the multiple.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't think he gets traded. I think he just plays this season out and then signs somewhere in free agency.
Okay, but that's the thing, man. That's not going to happen. I don't think so because the Miami Heat are not stupid. They're going to get something, whether it's small or whether it's big. They're going to get something. And
they got to offer it. Some teams got to offer it.
I mean, some teams are offering. That's the thing. Teams are offering.
Have a confirmed offer for Butler. It was just these are the teams that he's interested
in. Yes, they
are.
The Miami Heat are listening to offers. They're telling people, "Hey,
Omar, I can listen for the birds to chirp, but they're not going to chirp unless they're chirping."
That's what I'm saying. But like the Miami Heat,
that's not what you're saying. You're saying that there's already offered.
There
saying
probably
that
is already offers. I wouldn't put it past anybody if there was already
bro,
offers. There's
I'm
probably
just
offers
saying,
from non-contenders. Washington Wizards, Toronto Raptors, hell, maybe the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know.
I just don't see. But if you're rebuilding, why would you go get a 35-year-old that you're gonna have to ruin your cap flexibility for? Like, what sense does that make?
I mean, he's still a good player through and through. He's just
He
injured
is.
sometimes.
He is. But that's why I think maybe a team will take a chance on him in free agency when all they have to do is pay him. But to
And
give
I know I use
and
this.
pay him, like, why would you think about it, Omar? Why would you not
and it's just
wait until the offseason and then just sign him outright?
it makes
Why would
more
you
I
sense
think
that way
that's a-
because the
I think
contract,
that's a solid
bro, it's
idea for
48
anybody.
million.
But
It's
you also
48
don't,
million.
but you also don't want to give him the chance to go to another team, fall in love with that roster, and say, "Hey, I'm gonna just play here."
But that wouldn't happen if he just signed somewhere else. Like,
But that's what I'm saying. Like the Miami Heat, guys, the Miami Heat are not stupid. They are not going to give Jimmy Butler up for absolutely nothing. They already
bro,
know
but I'm
that
saying
he is
they're
not going
limited.
to return.
It's $48 million, Omar.
I know, dude.
That's
but
the
teams are
contract. You
going
have to take
that.
on that contract. You have to build up to that contract. When you're a second neighbor team, you can't take more. You can't take back more than you're giving out. So it has to match that 48 million.
I know.
Who
I'm
is
aware.
giving up $48 million in assets, player assets, to get Jimmy Butler for a rental?
Dude.
I mean, to be fair,
I'm gonna explain this one more time. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. That's another thing.
But y'all, I mean, yeah, that's different though. Like OG is still younger, bro. I mean, than Jimmy Butler.
I mean, there is an age.
He's one of the best wings right now in the NBA.
Similar.
Yes, it does. It's about where you are right now in your career, your value, bro. Everything is different, bro. What do you mean?
What, dude? Okay, so you're telling me
Oh, no,
the situation that we're you know what, I'm putting this hat back on. This is terrible.
I was going back on. Omar means business.
And because I don't know what's going on with my hair. That's why. I don't have time to do it.
I'm just saying, Omar.
I'm
saying is this.
No, dude, we're comparing the trade situations. They are exactly the same. They have
$48 million.
Okay, let me tell you this.
$48 million.
Let me tell you this. When a trade,
build me a trade real quick. Open trade machine. Build me a trade.
I literally did, but it doesn't mean I can't trade him right now because technically the deadlines and shit, which everybody still has to wait for.
Okay, the Magic. Okay, you did that on paper. Cool. How does that help the Magic? Yes, you add veteran leadership.
Doesn't it help
but Jimmy Butler needs the ball in his hands. Paulo needs the ball in his hands. Franz needs the ball in his hands.
We're talking about any team in particular.
Need the ball in their hands.
We're talking about any team. I mean, we're talking about any team. We're talking about the general sense of any team.
All right. Hypothetically, what's another team you would? That makes sense. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Fine. Let me look at this.
I mean,
okay. Why not the Pacers? Let's talk about it.
They just traded for Pascal Siakam. You want Pascal, Jimmy Butler, and Tyrese on the same team?
I'm just looking at all my options here.
I mean, if we're being honest, I feel like the Pacers. I don't know if they have.
Why not trade Miles Turner? Why not trade Miles Turner?
Maybe that does make sense if you think their window is now and you want to capitalize on Siakam and Halliburton.
Why would you trade? You trade Miles Turner?
Dude. You're talking about we have to match money. You have to match money.
I get it, but like, so what's your? So you're gonna run Pascal at the 5?
It would probably be that, yeah. Looking back at it, yes.
I mean, listen, the Pacers make more sense than most other teams.
They have other centers on their squad. They have James.
Yeah, I mean, it does make more sense than the Magic, but you know, yeah.
Okay, so Omar, as we're wrapping the show up here, it sounds like you're predicting 100% that Butler will be traded by the deadline. He will be traded.
Yeah, why not, dude? I mean, yeah.
I just don't think they'll be takers. I think they're gonna put out phone calls and they're gonna say, "Who wants Jimmy?" And everyone's gonna say, "We're good. We'll wait till the offseason. We'll take our chance."
I mean,
that's what I'm gonna stand on. I don't think there is a team that needs Jimmy Butler so badly that they are willing to give up assets for him to get him for this season.
Again,
I think when there's younger players with like OG and Siakam that you can then sign to longer contracts, I think it makes sense. But if you're trading if you're getting Jimmy Butler right now, that means you're gonna have to sign him at least until he's 38. Some team is gonna sign Jimmy Butler until he's 38. I think that's different than signing OG until he's 32 or Siakam.
I'm telling you, regardless, he's gonna get traded, whether it's to a contending team, whether it's to the Utah Jazz. he's gonna get traded.
All right.
It
I'll bet
doesn't
no Butler trade by the deadline.
This is
Whether
what
it's
I'm
the
saying.
Washington Wizards or the Toronto Raptors.
This is what I'm saying, Omar.
Hell, even the San Antonio goddamn
I'm not saying that he
Spurs.
won't get traded. I'm just
He's
saying
going to be traded.
I'm not saying that he won't get traded. What I'm saying is I just don't think it makes sense. Like the amount of contracts you have to match to make it happen, plus the assets you're gonna have to give up for a half of season rental, a little bit more than half of season rental, and he's likely probably not gonna resign, I would guess. Depends on where he goes. I just don't think as a GM it's worth it.
All right, so we got two people saying that so Earl, you're saying he won't get traded. Is that your prediction?
I don't know. I'm not saying he won't get traded. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to trade for it.
All right, I'm on team no trade.
That might be true, but there are teams that will take. I just have full.
All right, I say no. Omar says yes. Earl, you're a little.
Has it already been an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It was a quick hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was a quick hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys have an opinion on this Jimmy Butler trade, please do comment down below. Let us know whose side you're on, whether you're Team Omar and that he will get traded, Team Max, he won't get traded, or Team Earl, he might. Be sure to comment down below. And as always, if you did enjoy this episode of the Beyond the Backboard podcast, please do leave it a like. If there's anything you want us to talk about, any team you want us to highlight in future episodes, please do also comment that. We're taking suggestions for little segments, teams, players you want highlighted. So let us know that as well. As always, check us out on Spotify, TikTok. You all know the regular places. We'll be back next week. We'll have more in-season tournament games to recap. Maybe the Hawks will win. Maybe the Hawks will lose. One of those things will happen. I'm Max. That's Omar. Maybe over there. Maybe over there. I don't really know. Earl's down there for me, but I don't know where he is on y'all's screen. Have a good day.
Love the fans. Hate the Hawks.
Hey, what did Trae do?